Good morning, class. Today we're going to talk about the subjunctive. Please make sure that you have your note guide and that you follow along and take notes as the note guide requires. We use the subjunctive mainly in multiple clause sentences. The way to tell whether it's a multiple clause sentence is that it has a change in subject. For example, I hope that you do your homework tonight. Your parents want you to do well in school. So notice that we have a change of subject. The present subjunctive is used to express will, influence, emotion, doubt, or denial. All right, for example, I doubt that he will come. Dudo que venga. I am happy that you study for the test. Estoy alegre que estudies para el examen. Notice that the ones in red are the verbs that are in the subjunctive. The way that we form the present subjunctive is that we're going to start with the present tense yo form of the verb. We drop the O, and then we add the opposite ending. So AR verbs get E's, ER and IR verbs get A's. For example, in the yo form, hablé, even though hablar is an AR verb, and correr gets an A, even though it's an ER verb. So we're adding opposite endings to the verbs. These are the endings for the present subjunctive. So notice that AR verbs are getting ER and IR verb endings, and that ER and IR verb endings are getting the A's. Notice that the vosotros has an accent just like it always does. What's the difference between the subjunctive and the indicative? When we have been learning our stuff in Spanish, we have been in the indicative mood. So everything that you've been learning, present tense, past tense, preterite imperfect, future tense, those have all come under the indicative. The subjunctive is another heading like the indicative, and it has a match for all of the things that we've been learning. So for instance, if there's present indicative, there's present subjunctive. Future, past, it all works that way. Everything has a cousin, basically, in the subjunctive. And so the subjunctive is used to express the speaker's attitude toward events, as well as actions or states that the speaker views as uncertain. So that uncertainty is a key to the subjunctive. The indicative is all about facts. So we have been using the indicative correctly. It's what you learn first as Spanish students. Once we start getting to more complicated language where we're saying things like, I wonder if she knows that she's late, or I wonder if they studied for the test. When we start getting into things that are a little bit more complicated, that's when we need the subjunctive. As usual, there are some irregulars. So any verb that has an irregular yo form stays that way throughout the subjunctive. So if we have decir, for example, we have diga, digas, diga, digamos, digais, and digan. Same thing for pongo or for hago. We have our haga, hagas, haga, hagamos, hagais, and hagan. So all of these irregular yo forms, take a moment to jot these down. Stem changers. All right. So verbs that have stem changes in the present indicative have those same stem changes in the present subjunctive because we are using that yo form. So if you look at a verb like jugar, notice that it has the stem change because we started with juego as our yo form. We drop the O and then we get juegue, juegues, juegue. Notice that here, not in the boot, juguemos, jugues, and jueguen. Stem changers, AR and ER, change in the boot, like in the present tense. So just like when we make that change in the present tense, in the subjunctive, these two forms do not make the change. They don't get the spelling change. So nosotros and vosotros don't have the spelling change. In your notes, please try the verb entender. Entender is a stem changer that goes E to IE. Here's your answers. Notice that that stem change happens in the yo, tú, ele o usted, and ellos, ellas, ustedes. It is not in the nosotros and the vosotros, which are out of the boot. IR stem changers undergo stem changes in the nosotros and the vosotros. So stem changers can only change E to I or O to U. Dormir is going to make a third stem change, basically. So the boot is going to change, and then up here in the nosotros and the vosotros, they're going to make either an E to I or an O to U change. If you look at dormir, we have duerma, duermas, duerma, and duerma. Notice in the nosotros and the vosotros that it went O to U. Sentir is another one of these. It goes E to I, E normally, and then in the nosotros and vosotros, it's going to make the other change. It's going to go E to I. Notice our sentir. Here's our stem change. And then here's in the nosotros and vosotros where it makes an additional stem change. As usual, we have some irregulars. Here are your irregulars. Please make sure that you get these down. They will be nowhere else for you. So be aware that dar, estar, ir, saber, and ser are irregulars. This should not be a surprise because they seem to be irregular in most tenses. We also take a little spelling change in verbs with kar, gar, and zar. And we see this a little bit in the present or in the preterite tense. When we have a verb with a yo form and we add that E to it, we have to do a little spelling change. Same thing is happening here. The C goes to QU, the G goes to GU, and the Z goes to C. So it's exactly the same change that we saw in the preterite, and it's because we're adding that opposite ending. When we have to add an E to an AR verb, that's a kar, gar, and zar verb, we have to make that spelling change. For I, there is or there are, the present subjunctive form of I is aya. And you may recognize I from ubo or from abia, which we just learned in our preterite and our imperfect tenses. So in the subjunctive, there's only one form of that verb. It's aya, just something to put into your notes. Use your notes when you go into activity 1. Good luck. Remember to write anything down that you're having trouble with and to shoot me an email if there's a problem.